the orchestra putting their classical performances to one side and going on tour with 90s chart act James.
And it's been raining torrentially almost all day for the west and southwest of the country. But does that mean we're next in line? Whose turn is it now? Find out later. Talking of weather, Autumnwatch is in full swing on BBC Two, and all this week we'll be joining in with a series of films looking at wildlife in the region as it prepares for winter. And today our environment correspondent David Gregory joins us from Sutton Coldfield. So what are you looking at tonight, David?
Well, Nick, we're here in Sutton Park in Sutton Coldfield because here the landscape all around me is partially shaped by a herd of wild Exmoor ponies that were brought here more than 10 years ago now. So we thought we'd come back for Autumnwatch to try and film the ponies, because in autumn they're in peak condition, the best time to film them because they're about to go into winter, of course. And more than that, if we're going to film them, let's try and find them in some of the secret places they go to get away from some of the human visitors to this park. This is something most people never see.
It's a place of refuge. A lot of times, especially in summer months, when they, get like the flies or they're a bit skittish and a bit spooked, they tend to go in there and they'll spend hours in there.
Sutton Park, north of Birmingham, and home to the largest herd of Exmoor ponies outside of Exmoor itself.
There was a lot of opposition when I first drew it up as a scheme, and it took a lot of convincing to persuade people that this actually was the right thing to do for the park and the park's habitats, which is really what they're here for.
14 years since they first arrived, and the park landscape is now flourishing thanks to its herd of 30 Exmoor ponies. So this fence is designed to keep the ponies away from a nearby road, but it also allows me to show you the difference between the grazed side and the habitat here and the ungrazed side here, which is covered in this really tough grass. And you can see the positive impact the ponies have all over the park.
Around the water's edge you can see all the different poaching, it's called, when they create indents in the mud. And that's creating great habitats for dragonflies and things, and on a day like this it's great to see them flying around.
And in autumn the ponies are getting ready for winter, laying down fat reserves and growing a winter coat.
It's sort of almost like a weatherproof coat, and it's durable and it keeps them warm, protect them, and it's just ideal for the conditions. And literally they're sort of like twice the size they are in the summer months. But yeah, they just pile away, and that mainly takes them through the winter.
You'll see Exmoor ponies all over Sutton Park, but if you're very lucky you might stumble on this, their secret place, where they go after a hard day looking after the landscape. But of course you might just as easily walk right past and never see them at all.
Beautiful film, isn't it? But David, on a completely different subject, I understand you've got an update on something we asked our viewers to help with last year.
Yeah, this was back in June last year, so there'll be Springwatch last year actually, and we asked viewers to tell us what they were feeding their garden birds. And this all came about because we did a report on some research by the University of Birmingham that appeared to show, studying birds in Chansley Woods, that birds had fewer eggs and fewer chicks, obviously, if people put out food for them. Now, hundreds of you took the time to take part and tell us what you were doing in the real world, and that's going to be really useful for the researchers.
The experiment is really about why we feed garden birds and the effects upon their reproductive biology. So this questionnaire has provided us with lots of details about the extent of garden bird feeding and whether what we're doing scientifically reflects what goes on the ground for the general public.
So the advice is still do keep feeding your garden birds, but longer term, thanks to you, this research might come up with perhaps smarter bird feeding plans for our gardens to make sure we're not doing them any harm. Much more on my blog, including full analysis by the University of Birmingham at bbc.co.uk/David Gregory. And tomorrow, crayfish, really rare. We found 100,000 of them.
Gosh,
Just
David,
a few then.
thank you very much. Very moody setting, I thought,
It is
wasn't it?
beautiful there, very spooky in that park. Not quite Halloween yet though. Anyway, plenty of